So we're here today to talk about asset protection planning, and that can mean a few different things. And really there's two vehicles to use when we're talking about asset protection planning. So LLCs and trusts. So LLCs, limited liability companies, it's a business entity, a business structure, and then trust planning, right? So you can use them separately. Sometimes you can use them together. There's different routes depending on what your situation is. But I'm really going to talk to you a little bit more about the three phases of asset protection trust planning. So there is domestic, foreign, and third-party settled trust, right? So domestic, there's about 20 states, I think it's actually 19 states that have domestic asset protection statutes on their books when it comes to trust planning. So what does that mean? So you're able to set up a trust yourself for your own benefit and then transfer your assets over to the trust, and they be protected from creditors, lawsuits, judgments against you, that kind of thing. Now there's different nuances depending on the state that you're in and when you set the trust up and how it really all comes together. Now, some people think that there's significant limitations to domestic asset protection trusts here in the US, and so they like to go offshore with foreign asset protection trust planning. So there's several different offshore jurisdictions. One being the most popular is Cook Islands, Polynesian country. That's probably the jurisdiction that has the strongest foreign asset protection trust statutes. But it's kind of, again, the same principle. You set up a trust for yourself that benefits you. Again, there's nuances there, but your assets are protected from judgments, creditors, lawsuits, whatever it may be. So a lot of times people hear foreign or offshore and they kind of start freaking out and they think, oh no, like what are the tax consequences? Am I evading taxes? You know, what's going on here? And really, it's tax neutral. So if we were talking about foreign asset protection trust planning, it's tax neutral. There's no tax advantage to actually doing it. So don't let that scare you away from it. And then lastly is third-party settled trust. So that's another domestic strategy that you can implement. But so if someone else sets up a trust for your benefit, any of those assets that end up inside of that trust, whether they fund the trust with assets or maybe there's a transaction that ends up moving assets inside of that trust, those assets are going to be protected again from creditors, judgments, lawsuits, whatever it may be. So when you're thinking about asset protection, think about those three different things. And it really makes sense to sit down with an attorney to have that conversation, explain what your fears are, let them size up and identify what the risk, quantify the risk as well for your situation, and then have the conversation about whether it's a domestic option or a foreign option that makes the most sense for you.